I want to move on to the coverage from the United Kingdom about a researcher for a parliamentarian or a group of parliamentarians who is alleged to be acting on behalf of, again, the Chinese government. You're familiar with the reporting about that case?
I'm familiar with the media reporting of that case.
Are you concerned about a risk of a similar activity happening in Australia? Someone attempting to place or cultivate a staff member to a politician?
Yes, I am concerned about that. I've been on the public record talking about the threat of foreign interference in the political system at all levels of government in this country, local, state and federal.
What steps could the parliament take to mitigate or reduce that risk? How could we harden our systems against incursions like that or threats like that?
My simple advice there would be aware of the threat, and when you're engaging, which obviously politicians should do with members of the community, or actually as you're going about your business of being a politician, engage with your eyes wide open, and if there's anything that's suspicious, unusual, ongoing or persistent, you might want to think about it and fall back on your values as an individual and as a politician, and generally your judgments will get you right there.
What about when parliamentarians are hiring staff and we're concerned about this? Would it be helpful if it was made available to us the option to have some of our staff vetted to an appropriate level of clearance?
Yeah, I understand, Senator. Let's define what you mean by vetting. So if that concern is that you're worried about recruiting someone to your staff that actually is working for a foreign intelligence service, well, that's my agency's job to know who they are in this country, and of course if we found that, we would come and talk to you and tell you about that, or depending on where we or the AFP found that matter will be dealt with appropriately. More generally though, I'd suggest, and not for me to suggest how staff are put in the position of supporting members of parliament, but there's security vetting and there's vetting. Putting someone through a security clearance means that they are trusted to access classified information. Doesn't mean to say they're not then susceptible to being suborned or cultivated and recruited by a foreign intelligence service. So it's not just the vetting that matters, it's actually the whole of life management of that individual in their workplace, and that's something in the federal government we do effectively well through the Protective Security Policy Framework, where we care about the protection of classified and sensitive information through people, places and information. So just straight vetting or security clearance may not solve your problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't be someone who would suggest it's a panacea, but still might help in mitigating or reducing the risk, because of course when you vet someone to work for your agency or any other agency in the NIC, you're not just trying to find out, is this person an agent of a foreign government, but are they susceptible? Are there things about them or their history that could be used as leverage by someone else in the course of their duties, so that they be approached? And the same principle is applied to ministerial staff, but not applied to staff working for other parliamentarians if they're a government backbencher or an opposition member or a shadow minister or a crossbencher.
Sure, I understand that, Senator. I'd suggest maybe that just putting them through a security clearance isn't the way to go, but there may be something that needs to be done, and I guess that's a conversation for others that we would be happy to have an input through.
Has the government sought your advice on this challenge, this issue?
It's a conversation that I've had across the community with officials. It's a conversation I've had with the Minister, but the exact nature of those details I won't go into here because my advice is confidential in that regard.
I wouldn't expect you to. I'm just seeking your assurance that the government is interested in and examining this issue, because they have publicly said that they would always act on the advice of officials and agencies if it was brought to their attention that additional measures were necessary.